Hello and welcome to another Destiny's Dispatch. Tonight, Dean and I are going to be talking all about spells and spell casting. So, for all of you wannabe wizards out there, this is the one for you. Just want to say hi to everyone who's joined us. So, at the moment, I can see we've got Paladin Steve and we've got Cam, I believe.
That is
Yes,
Cam.
that's just cool. There, that. Look, I'm learning buttons, everybody. I have learnt to use buttons.
I'm banned from interacting with chat.
Well, a little bit.
Yes.
wanna
No,
press
it's only
buttons.
because I'm terrible at multitasking, really.
Hey, and we've got a Nostler Scholar in as well.
Well,
We
hello,
will be
Fireball.
discussing Fireball. We will be talking about Fireball because
That
it's
we
a
will.
brilliant spell. So, Dean, we have our cups of tea. Proper tea, I'd like to point out. See, look, proper tea. So there we go. Just for you, Jack, I'm drinking tea. So, yes, today we're going to talk all about spells and spellcraft and all of the good, exciting things that go along with it. So don't forget, pop any questions you've got in the chat below and we will get to them. So, Dean, spells and spellcasting.
Yes, counterspell. Oh, Steve, don't swear on this show, please. It's a family show.
Fancy bringing up counterspell.
We do not have counterspell. Is it Yorkshire tea? I don't know.
Yes, it is actually. It is proper Yorkshire tea. I only buy Yorkshire tea. You're okay, Jack.
Yes.
I will make sure it is proper tea.
Right. Sorry, what was the question?
So we are going to talk about spells, Dean. So
Yes, we are.
I think let us start off with some of the stuff that we don't have in spells. I think that's a good place to start. And then we can start going through some of our spells and how you've put it together. So because I've seen this is the reason I think we need to start with the sort of spells we do not have in Untold Destiny and the reasons why. So, Dean, would you like to go through that for a bit? Because we've got quite a few spells that you get in other systems that we don't have in Untold Destiny. And I think it's important to discuss that. Then I think we need to get into like what you use for spell casting and spell points and all that sort of good stuff. And then we'll get into the spell design itself.
Absolutely. So, when we came to spell design, there were a couple of spells that I have never really liked because they are world-breaking spells. If they truly existed in a world, that world would act very differently from the fantasy world that we typically play in. The first one being teleportation magics. And pretty much any teleportation magic, any ability to bypass a barrier, to escape being grappled, to cheat, any kind of movement where you wouldn't normally physically be able to do so is gone. So any movement you get that doesn't provoke attacks or is very swift and stuff like that, it's a fast movement. So you need solid ground, or you need to be able to jump or traverse the ground. You can't go through solid barriers. You can't go through a portcullis that is down. All of these things, I mean, you think about it, in a fantasy world where you got things like phase step, a castle brings down its portcullis and a bunch of arcane knights just go up, phase step through, and they're instantly in the castle. So it really, I've never felt comfortable with teleportation, and it also makes the world incredibly small. It's that classic, and I've read it a few times in the Forgotten Realms novels, where someone does something terrible, Elminster just teleports in, sorts it out, teleports out again. And I've always felt that's just cheap. It doesn't feel right. It means if there's anything going on in the world, surely big heroes will just be teleporting in, dealing with it, and then teleporting back out again. So
I like to think of that in the Lord of the Rings. If you think about the Fellowship of the Ring, oh, we've got this big bad ring. Oh, we've got to get it to Mount Doom. Well, we need to have a chat at Rivendell first. You miss all of that stuff out if Gandalf just goes and teleports somewhere to find out information, then pops back, gets Frodo, teleports to Rivendell, has a chat. Okay, oh, you've been to Mount Doom, haven't you? Okay, let's teleport there.
Yeah.
right? That really does spoil a Lord of the Rings. And we wanted something that reflected the books we like to read.
Mm.
And most of those books involve horses and people moving over distance and doing stuff on routes. And that's one of the reasons we decided not to have teleport.
Yeah.
I think that's fair, isn't it, Dean?
That is absolutely fair. In a real world where you had teleportation, it would break economies. That you would introduce so many different problems. It's always a bit of a joke to bring in a bit of a sci-fi lean to this. With transporters, transporter technology, it's teleport, transport the captain out into space. Right, we've captured the vessel. It's that kind of cheap, ill thought out mechanic that sounds great, but when you actually sit down and go through world building with it, actually think how it would work in a real world, you begin to see a lot of holes, a lot of problems, a lot of awkwardness, and then you're having to patch this with things like protection magics all over the place, and wards and gods, and you're just adding a lot of complexity. And I also wanted to make sure that the world was as much as it could be. When you're in a part of the world, it's only you really in that part of the world with whoever lives in that. So the world is big, and it takes time to journey from one place to another. And if there's trouble going down in that area and you are inclined to be a hero, it's often up to you then to sort out what that trouble is. You can't just go teleporting off and getting help, or someone's not just going to teleport in and fix it for you.
So,
Horses and
Jack,
books, yes.
I would like to point out that Dean has only killed 3 of my horses so far in games. One of them got, yeah,
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
killed
yeah.
Blinky. You killed my other horse, who got taken away by a griffin. Poor thing. And I managed to save my other horse.
Yeah, but
Just
one of your horses survived all those encounters and is now
yeah,
traumatized because of it.
we've got a traumatized horse.
Survived
I do
an
have
unleash of attacks by cultists and all sorts. Yeah.
yes, and now he's traumatized.
Yeah.
Hey, Primeval.
Oh, it's good.
So
Primeval has promised to heckle us from chat, so I'm looking forward to that.
excellent. We're looking forward to that. So I think now we've talked about, because we haven't got divinations in when we start looking at the sort of cleric side, but we're not going to really go into that
Yeah,
today.
and do we
So
want to talk instant communication as well, which is another
oh
area?
yes, that's something else you've got rid of.
Yeah, so instant communication, it was always this thing of, the sending stones. You pick up a stone, you send a message, it instantly arrives at the destination. And if you live in a world where you got this level of instant communication, espionage becomes virtually impossible, because anything happening in one area, so say, to use something I'm familiar with, the Forgotten Realms, the Zentirim move into an area, they begin to cause trouble. Um, a high level harper in that area just picks up a stone instantly. The message is relayed back to HQ, and they can deal with it. And the same happens with the bad guys. The bad guys can have scouts and stuff with these stones. They instantly send messages back. The world becomes incredibly small. Any trouble happening in one part of the world is known about across the entire world. And again, it's the shrinking of this world. And I wanted the world to feel vast and sprawling, where when you get a rumor, that rumor is probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 months old. And you're then left with this, okay, has something happened? Hasn't it happened? Are we going to arrive too late? It's to conjure that. A world where you have instant communication becomes very similar to the world we have now. It's a very small world, it's a very global world, and I think you lose a lot of the air of fantasy, air of mysticism about that world.
And I quite like the way that Jack's put it. And I actually think that
Yeah.
summarizes exactly the approach that we've got to spells and spell casting, which is it's all about the world, and it's the world that these spells inhabit. So yes, I think that's a really good description of that, Jack. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think we've talked, we talked previously about healing. Very restricted, not really much in the way of healing magics. So I think that kind of talks about what we don't have.
We don't have counter spell, but I think we can cover that off when you talk about your design of spells. I think right
Yeah.
now what we need to do is to because I've already got some questions about counterspell, which
Mm.
we can go to at that point. But I think let's start off with the resources you have as a spellcaster.
Right. When you say resources, your spell points?
No, the yes, of course, spell points.
So,
I'm sorry, guys, he can't remember.
I can. Every caster has spell points. The number of spell points you get is determined by your casting attribute. It's half the modifier. So if you've got an 18 wisdom and you cast divine spells, you would have, hang on, 18, 9, half 9, you have four spell points. If you're a full caster, you add 2 to that. So you'd actually have 6 spell points. If you are what I call a third caster, in other words, your rangers, paladins, you would only add 1. Sorry, you add nothing to it. It's just that. And if you're a mid caster, so your inquisitors, you add 1 to it. So your spell points, it's 1 spell point to cast a spell, regardless of that spell. All spells are cast at your level, but the level you gain the spells at depends on the tier you have access to. So we've split. When looking at spells, I noted that a lot of people in D&D got confused between spell level and character level. So I wanted to make a very big distinction between the two. You have spell tiers, 1st to 7th, and then character levels. So I am a 3rd level character. I'm an arcane warrior, so I'm really good with blades. I'm a martial character, but I've got a splattering of arcane knowledge. I have Aether Missile. So at 1st level, it's a tier 1 spell. I get Aether Missile. I can launch 3 missiles. At 3rd level, I can now launch 4 missiles, the same as any other spellcaster. But at 3rd level, a full spellcaster has access to tier 2, but I don't, because I don't progress as much in the power. So my spells are as powerful, but I don't get access to the more powerful spells until much later on. And this is our way of kind of controlling spells. Everything costs 1 spell point because all spells are automatically uplifted to your level and cast at your level. And so
I'm
far,
really interested. I'm really interested in wizards, and I'm really sorry, Dean. You don't want to talk about your little poxy sort of. Wizards. We need to talk wizards, and I think there's just. You see, this is where
we've
I
got a
like
dungeon
wizards.
delver. Thank you
We
so much,
do.
Mr. Delver.
And we've got Cyrus right. We've
Oh,
got
that's
loads
lovely.
of good people.
We
We're all
have.
good people.
Anyway,
But
you
yeah,
were talking about the magnificent of wizards.
Wizards are magnificent. And one of the things that I love about wizards is the fact that they are good at what they are supposed to be good at, which is spell casting. Now, Dean mentioned the spells that you get. So he just explained all of that. So say you've got 6 spell points. Now, there's nothing I hated more, and I always loved playing wizards. My favorite ever character was a wizard called Ta'anai. And there's nothing I hate more than having to either hold back or just suddenly being able to not do anything. And so many people say to me, "Oh yeah, but you've got like cantrips and stuff like that." But I absolutely, they never really did it for me. They weren't, they were just really pitiful. So what I love about our spell casting is that it actually matters. So I would like to run through what our fireball is like. So I think, Dean, you need to go through, explain the design of the spells, because what I like is the fact that not only do I get these spells, but I can use all my spell points in an encounter, because after the encounter they come back. During the encounter, if I'm running low on spell points, I can actually focus and I can gain back a spell point. So you've got ways of actually bringing stuff back to make sure that you can keep in the game. You don't just have I've blown all my spell points, so I'm just going to sit here now and just sort of get hit in the face by the nearest monster that comes along. And that's why I love our spell casting. It's powerful, but it's also structured. So Dean's going to go through his favourite with you, which is, well, my favourite, Fireball.
Yeah. Are we
It's
going to
actually
bring
Jack's favourite.
It is Jack's. To be honest, I think it's every wizard's favorite, with a few exceptions. Are you going to bring Fireball up on screen? Because we've.
You know something?
Yeah.
I may just be doing that. I'm just looking for that lovely. I can hear Jack going, technical difficulties.
Standing by.
This, and it's that button there.
Yep.
And it's this button here. And that should do that there.
Okay. There we
Like
go.
that.
That looks good.
Hey.
That looks good. Okay, so there we have Fireball. So we can see immediately Fireball is a tier 2 spell. So full casters get it at 3rd level. It's an action to cast it, requiring verbal and semantic components. So you need to be able to move your arms at the very least and be able to talk. It has a range of 200 feet and its area is a 20-foot sphere. So in other words, it's always and Vicky corrects me on this, it's the radius of the sphere. So it will be 40
foot radius.
40 foot from one side to the other. Duration is instantaneous, so it doesn't last. And its saving throw requires a dexterity breath save. And breath is it's a classic sort of breath weapon attack. It's an attack that fills an area, and it's dexterity because you can effectively dodge or tumble out the way. So as standard, you can create a 20-foot sphere of fire, dealing 4d8 fire damage, and applying the burning condition. So what I've tried to do, I've got a nice design document for designing spells. And in there, I've tried to make sure there are themes running through. So for example, fire typically has a burning condition on it, which means at the start of the following round, whoever inflicted that burn condition rolls a d12, and that's how much fire damage that creature takes. Now, if the creature happens to be vulnerable to fire, they're taking another d10 on top. So burning can actually be quite a vicious thing. And we've seen it used in good effect in Trouble Comes in Threes, where I think a load of skeletons who were burning kind of fell apart at the start of a round because the burning consumed them. Okay, so if you make your saving throw, half damage is dealt and the condition's not gained. And then a little bit of flavor here for some other stuff. It'll set fire to flammable materials like straw, oil, and so forth. You've now got casting at higher levels. So if I was a 6th level caster, the damage goes up to 5d8, and that's all the way up to 18th when it's 9d8 damage. So you can see immediately our spell damage isn't huge. And part of that is because you've got infinite spell casting. And part of that is also because our hit points don't go up as much as other systems. So you get a big chunk of hit points, and then it goes up sort of slowly after that.
Love that comment. I can also blather about the problems of magic for hours as well.
Yeah. So this is your sort of standard. It's an area spell. It's great. However, if you've got allies in the area, they're going to take damage unless you happen to be an invoker, which is one of our specialist wizards. And then you can, spending a point of stamina, carve out shapes in your fireball to protect your allies or other objects within the fireball. So you can make sure it doesn't set fire to a barn, for example, or your friends in its area. But by being an invoker, I cannot cast any spell that comes from the Abjuration school of magic. So we have very strong sort of controls over, I can excel at invocation, but then I cannot use Abjuration. So we got opposed schools. So that's Fireball.
Look at Dungeon Delver. He's been naughty. Look at him go.
Right. What else did you want to discuss about Fireball?
Well, you've just I think we can roll a few dice maybe, but probably don't need to. You've all seen 5d8, 68.
Yeah. It's pretty standard. It's nice. It's easy. Rolled. But do we want to talk about the counter to Fireball?
I think you should.
So do you want to pop on to our guards and wards? So as has been discussed, we do not have, counterspell, because I think it is a terrible spell. It's cheap. If it's used against a player, the player feels absolutely devastated. And if it's used against creatures, it can lock down powerful creatures very, very easily. And I know people talk about, spell slots become important. But if you've got enough skill, the spell slot really is not as important. You can use a low level spell slot, and just hope you roll high. Within our system, the counters come in the way of reactions. So yes, we'll have to answer that better. But in fact, we are answering that, I think.
Yes. So I was about to say, if you think about, have you considered counterspell as a mechanic rather than a spell? I think we have got quite a nice way of dealing with counterspell, which is exactly what Dean's going through now, which is why I just popped over to your comment there.
Yeah. So we've got guards and wards, and guards are typically a personal protection, wards cover an area. So elemental guard, as a reaction, when I take elemental damage, fire, I can cast the spell above, which gives me resistance to that fire. So I'm already taking half damage now. If I make my save, I take quarter damage. So it doesn't negate the spell, but it protects you against that spell. And this is the kind of approach we've taken. To invoke magic, you're bringing the magic into reality, you're manifesting it. It's hard for someone to interrupt that process, but what they can do is use spells to counter the effectiveness of that spell. And if we go down elemental ward, it provides resistance to everybody in a 30-foot sphere around you. So everybody 30 feet around you gains resistance. That includes the enemy as well. So you got to be careful. Now, we talked about how invokers can carve up spaces within their fiery spells to protect their allies. Well, guess what? An abjurer, they can't cast invocation magics, but what they can do is an elemental guard, which has a range of self. They can spend a point of stamina and cast that on someone up to 30 feet away. So instantly, the abjurer can cast their self protections on their allies. The other thing is, an abjurer can bring up an elemental ward and say, only my allies within this ward have resistance to the attack coming in. And this can be pretty good when, for example, a dragon's breathing, or a wyvern's breathing, it's hitting some of its own people, and you want to just protect yourself. And we've had this in a couple of the high-level fights, haven't we?
Yes,
where
we have indeed.
You've inadvertently protected, brought up a ward and protected the enemy against your own attacks, because this ward lasts a round. So it'll last you casting and the whole of the next round before it drops. And we always check for durations at the start of a round. So all durations drop at the same point. We do kind of the admin at the start of the round. It makes the whole round a lot smoother. So already you're now beginning to see two flavors here. You got your invoker all about damaging, and you got your abjurer all about protecting and countering. And I think the two dovetail quite nicely.
We do indeed. And yeah, just to reiterate about the low volume of spell points, yes, they always recover after an encounter. So essentially what this means is your GM always knows roughly what you're going to be going in with. So it makes prep an absolute dream. So there's none of this having to balance, your encounters for the day. It makes it a lot more natural.
Well, where you got to have 5 encounters for the day, so many
Yeah.
at this level, so many at that level, because your party will have so many one-off abilities that are really high-powered and so many that are low-powered. No, every combat you go into is balanced in that the combat's not balanced, but you know what the party are bringing to that encounter. So, yeah, and players coming in, they will know what they've got at their disposal, because it's pretty much all the tools that they've got, short of if they've got wounds and penalties from wounds.
And just, it doesn't matter what level the spell is. If you've got that level spell, you cast it as one spell point. And again, if you're getting through sort of midway through combat and you're thinking I'm running low, you can actually sort of just take a breath. You can center yourself, you can connect with the aether, and you can draw some of that power back. And one of the nice things is because we've got bonus features, which we'll be doing on another day, you can actually take a bonus feature that means you get more than just sort of one back, then you can actually increase that. But it's all works really nicely, and it just means that you feel useful as a wizard. And we've mentioned we've got the abjurer, we've mentioned we've got the invoker, but we've actually got, I'm going to get this wrong now, aren't we? 4 specialist wizards.
We have.
I got it right. So we've got the abjurer, we've got the invoker, we've got the summoner, and we've got the enchanter.
Yeah.
All right, so that's really nice because we've got some really nice rounded classes within that are just pure spell casting. That's all they do is spellcast, and they do it well. And don't forget, then we've got our generalist, which is the arcanist. So we've got the fifth. So you've got 4 specialist wizards, and then you've got a generalist wizard called the arcanist. So that's what we've got within our wizard classes.
We've also
And
got the spell blade.
that doesn't count because they run rounds with they don't count. They're not a pure. I'm talking.
You are
pure
right.
bloods.
They are
I'm
not
really
a pure.
sorry.
They're in the wizard
I'm sorry.
archetype, but they're not.
They might be that they touch swords. I mean, really.
Any wizard can touch a sword. So
I know any wizard can touch a sword, but they like touching swords.
this is all getting a bit weird now. Shall we move on to summoning?
My husband's just called me weird, guys.
Yes.
This is, could you please have a word with him?
Right. Summoning.
So what we're talking about? Oh, you're summoning. Ooh, summoning. Yes, our summoners are great. I'm trying to move it on the wrong screen here.
No, that happens all the time. So there we go. This is a simple summoning spell. I say simple. It's a spell, takes an action, range 50 feet, so you can summon a creature, and ancestral within 50 feet. So all summons, you're summoning the energy of someone who has passed on before you. And it's only a fragment of that energy, so it's like a kind of a weaker version of the person. You conjure them into the real world where they manifest, and then you can command them. So how do we balance? Because summoning in certain systems can be very unbalanced, or it can be very ineffectual, and it's hard to strike that balance. Well, the first thing we've done is when you've summoned a creature, you must spend a swift action to command the creature. Then the creature can have its action and swift action to do something. So even if you summon 3 or 4 creatures, you can only have 2 of them act on your turn. And that means you do nothing but stand there. You can't even move. And I think that's quite thematic. We had a really great YouTuber, Runesmith. He played in as a guest in one of the games I was running for Jack, and he played a summoner, and he had a whale of a time because he could have all these summons out, and a lot of summons had reactions as part of their abilities, which meant he could use the right summons for the job and react to what was going on around the battlefield. Oh, that's a lot of dice. And one of the other reasons our summoning works well in combat is because summon creatures don't have anywhere near as much hit points as you do. They got roughly half the hit points. It goes up with your level. And if I can, Honey Bunch?
Yes, dear.
Can we move on to a summoned creature, please?
Want to go on to summoned creature? Where did you pop your summoned creatures?
Keep going.
No. What I'm going to do, because it's horrible watching screen scroll, I'm going to stop sharing.
It's just the next page. It's literally just the next page.
I don't care. It makes me feel sick when I see things scrolling on the screen. So I'm thinking about our poor, lovely people. There we go.
Okay.
They can see the dice instead. Aren't my dice nice? You see, these ones were we actually got from Jack's Elven Maidens, and
yours are Elven
Dean's
Maidens, mine's. Oh no, I think I donated mine to you for your cause.
stole them, yes.
Yeah, you did.
These are the ones that we got from Jack's critical.
Only crits, is it?
Only crits.
Yeah. Thanks, Jack. Thanks so much for dropping in. Really appreciate it.
There we go.
Right. Anyway, summoned.
Yeah, you're going to tell me to get on with things now, aren't you?
I am.
There we go.
Okay, so we have the Astral Defender. It's a medium ancestral neutral warrior. So if you summon this creature, it has a bunch of stats. It has some saving throws, and it has, if you have a look at it, how many hit points. So it's 23 plus 4 per your level. If it needs to make an armor check, it rolls 5 plus a d20. You need 15 or higher because it's always 20s. Now you're beginning to see something here, which is if you want your ancestral to dodge, it's 7 plus your spellcraft skill. So your ability at manipulating spells transfers into how effective the summoned creature is. If you want it to parry, it's your spell melee skill. So by this, if you were here last week or the week before, you know, as a skill ranks up, if you're only proficient in a skill, you roll 1d20. If you're an expert, you roll 2d20, take the highest. The master, 3d20, take the highest. So the summoned creatures are all tied back to you and your skills. So you need to be quite skilled at manipulating the summoned creatures because you are directing it and you're telling it how to attack and when to attack. What the summoned creature gives to you is the equipment it's wearing and its attributes. There are some more things. It's resistant to Aether because it comes from Aether itself. It can't be slept or subdued, and it has normal and dark vision. And then it has a couple of skills, so you can tell it to use those skills. And those skills are then, because it's no longer you directing it, it's more the creature kind of trying to do something based on its memory of life. It will do that there. So low hit points. I know the question you're asking, which is, won't these creatures get killed fairly quickly? And if you're unfortunate or if they've been ganged up on, that is a big possibility. But there are two things you can do about that. One, you play the summoner class. Summoners are allowed to take damage on behalf of their summoned creatures. So they're about to lose their defender. They can turn around and say, I will take however many points of that damage, leaving my defender alive and on the field still. So this is another way of us allowing you to have multiple summons. They don't become these sponges to take a load of damage, although they can take some damage. But in the hands of the summoner, they have that stickability that you need if you're going down that route. There is one other problem you have with summoning, and that is when a summoned creature dies, it's brought to 0 hit points or it receives a wound. The shock to you as the caster is it can wound you. So you need to make a system shock saving throw. If you fail that saving throw, you take an immediate wound. The shock of the creature dying and the surge back to you as the caster wounds you. It kind of rips part of your innards up. It begins to take your life. A summoner has a boon on that saving throw. So they're more resistant. They are better able to cope with that shock. And this is how we balance summoning within the game. You can have a lot of fun with summoning. Summoned creatures have all these different abilities. If you go down the divine route, we have a load of beasts that can be summoned. So you can have a lot of fun as like a shamanistic druid character, summoning beasts and bringing them under your control. But there are checks and measures in place.
Yeah, and I'd like to just highlight that. So your system shock saving roll is done off the back of your constitution. This is where I get it wrong. And so literally, if I've got, I don't know, 16 constitution, what plus would that give me, Dean?
Sorry, 16 you said, plus 8.
So I have got 6, 7, 8, 9, plus 8. I have just failed my system shock roll. So I have a wound. So that gives you an understanding of it's really powerful. But if you are not a summoner, it is also dangerous. However, you can basically send your astral defender off as a free action.
On your turn.
On your turn, admittedly, even though I've always tried to do it out of my turn and I start panicking.
You've always tried to do it before one dies, and you're like, can I send it back? No, it's not your turn.
So it is dangerous. But if you're a summoner, now I've played a summoner in a game and it was amazing. I was running around with loads of them. But because you've only got so much you can do with each one, it doesn't suddenly overwhelm the game and it's just a mage with a ton of summons. Yeah, you have to choose which one you're using, and you can use them in the right time. It's not as if every single summons gets a go. So that's really important to remember. But the fact is, it gives you a lot of diversity on the battlefield. Yeah. So you can actually bring up another wizard. You can bring up a defender. You can bring up a warder. So there's different types of summons that you can bring up, and it is really good fun to play. Yeah. In fact, I do believe that Runesmith actually has created a summoner for us.
He has. He's created the Runecaster. which is a very
Yes.
interesting summoned creature. It's not part of the Adventurer's Guide because we're saving it for the Kickstarter as one of the stretch goals.
Yes.
But yes, he helped design it, and it's fantastic. Lots of nice abilities you can trigger during, outside of your turn to help the party. Could you just scroll down a little bit so we can see the actions and abilities of this
No.
defender?
So I'm going to go to
Literally,
the wrong screen again. I know. I know.
There we go. So you can see the defender. So the little circle with the mark in the middle means it requires stamina. And you have to, as the caster, spend that stamina. So there's another check again to make sure this can't be abused. So your defender can cleave, in which case you make a flanged mace attack against 2 targets. Roll once. If you hit both targets, you roll damage once. Apply damage to whichever one's got hit. But you can also see there are 2 reactions here. So your summoned creature, if it's next to an ally, it can activate its protect ally. You spend the stamina, but effectively the summoned creature can now parry and attempt to parry the incoming attack against your ally. So it's costing you actually 2 stamina. One be to protect your ally, and another one to actually do the parry. No, that's wrong. It's only costing you the 1 stamina, and that includes the parry. Riposte.
I'm not laughing at you, honestly.
I know. It's been a long day. Riposte is another great one where if you successfully parry, you can deal half your damage straight back. Thanks, Snob. I think we might need it. And again, this is just showing you how you can burn as a caster, as a summoner, you can burn through your stamina quite quickly, just having your summons doing all this funky stuff around the battlefield. And it always, in all the playtesting we've done, it has felt incredibly balanced. It hasn't felt like you're having oh, cheers. Thank you, Brewski. It doesn't, what was it? Yeah, it doesn't feel overpowered or
the reason you're not allowed to read the chat is because it gets you all distracted and flummoxed.
It does. Well, you keep pulling the stuff up on screen and I have to read it.
Stop looking at it. Focus. Come on, focus.
So that's how we handle summons. And the summoner has some abilities to be able to, they don't have to spend stamina to command the summoned creatures and stuff like that. So there's things that they get to do. They get to take damage on behalf of their summons. So they've got more flexibility. And again, it's that way of having that specialist caster become very powerful with their spells. The drawback is you cannot cast enchantments as a summoner. Yes.
So Paladin Steve likes his good old-fashioned magic missile. And I have to say that when we haven't got magic missile, but what we do have, and I've got to show you that because I love it. Then I'm going to talk about my other favorite spell. Then you can start doing your graphs type stuff. Hey, there you go, Paladin Steve. This is our Aether missile. So you are conjuring these missiles from the Aether. So it's great. You can have it from first level. It's got loads of utility. I absolutely love this spell. So there you go. We haven't missed it out for you.
No.
However, someone has asked a question that we need to answer, Dean.
Go on.
Okay, but let's get to the important questions. Can I raise an army of the dead?
Potentially, but necromancy is a banned school. It's forbidden because of its incredible power. So, whilst we don't have rules for necromancy within the game, other than within the GMG for running them as NPCs, because they're typically considered an enemy because you're playing heroes, within our book, so you want to be the villain, we will have a full set of rules when we do it on necromantic magics. And at that point, yes, you will, given time and given the right power and sacrifice, be able to raise an army of the dead. But then you are truly a villain and you will have heroes seeking you out and attempting to kill you because you're using forbidden magics.
So necromancy is one of our forbidden schools. If you are a hero, thou shalt not raise armies of the dead unless you're a big bad.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, this is a nice, interesting one.
Yes.
So, is there any freeform magic?
No. But there within the GMG.
I didn't actually hear your answer then. You
Oh,
didn't come through at all.
I said no. No. There isn't in the classic sense of creating a spell on the fly. But what we will have within the GMG, the Games Master's Grimoire, is full set of rules and guidance for the creation of spells. We've got something like 486 spells, I think it is. No,
Yes,
sorry, not
about
4.
that.
386 spells, almost 400. And we could continue creating and creating and creating, but A, it would then leave you nothing to create, and B, our adventurer's guide would be an absolute mammoth tome. So there's a full set of guidance on creating spells, and it would be encouraged that a spellcaster spend the resources, and create their own spells. Once the formula has been created and works, they then add that spell to their repertoire.
Yes. So this will be part and parcel of the guidance for spell creation. And when Dean was talking about Fireball, I can't think. Fireball earlier. Yeah, this is why we always record things, because I can't speak. We also mentioned about the burning condition. So you can see here that within our guidance for creating spells, you've actually got all of the different conditions, all of the durations. So this is actually really nice, because you can. I've always liked, as when I've played my wizards, I used to spend hours creating my own spells. In fact, a few of them have made it into our spell compendium. So we've actually brought some of the spells over. We've obviously adapted them now for Untold Destiny, but I believe that my Ta'anai's Chaos Reign made the cut for Untold Destiny, which I was very pleased about. And this will actually give you the guidance, so that if you're anything like me, and as a spellcaster you like to create your own spells, that with the cooperation from your GM, you can do so. And I say that because you always get the players that want to push the boat out, who want to do more than they should be able to do, because they want to. So you have to design everything in conjunction with your GM, so that it's right for the setting and right for what they're doing. So we have, I'm trying to scroll it on screen again. So we've got everything you've got, including all your different conditions, and also guidance. So you've heard on other streams us talking about spells should enhance skills, should never replace skills. And that's absolutely key to remember for Untold Destiny, that you can't just replace things that are integral to a character with a spell instead. Those are buttons. So I'm going to go down for another. Look at that. You see, Jack likes his underground wizard party, and Jack has actually taken an Arcanist out for a spin. So yeah, I do like Arcanists. They are absolutely good.
Yeah, the Arcanist uses metamagics to enhance and mold their spells. So what?
I hate to say it, Dungeon Delver, but yes, our wizards can actually carry swords. Our wizards can actually use them if they do so desire, and if they have the relevant training in order to do so.
Yeah.
And we've actually got some of these, sort of actual spellcasters who like swords. I don't get it myself, but some of them do. But yes, the touch of the iron is not nasty to them.
Sorry, I've just read the one by Snob there. Can I make a Cam less grump? No, no, we cannot break the realms of truth. Cam will always be grumpy, and nothing will change that.
I haven't got to that one yet. You're not
All
allowed to
right.
answer questions I haven't put on the screen. You know the rules.
Yes. Okay. So, do you want to do this one?
Do wizards need wands or staffs?
They don't need them, but
They can have them.
they can have them, and when made of special materials, so for example, an ironwood staff or an adamantium wand, they gain bonuses when casting spells. So their spells typically deal more damage when casting. So the wands and staffs aren't required, but they can enhance spell casting when they're made from special materials. Yeah, so summon creatures can have will deal extra damage if you cast it with a special focus like that. For the divine casters, it's mostly holy symbols.
Really? Really, Jack? Really? See what I have to put up with.
Yes. Did you see the one from Primeval? That is exactly it. You can create a real Gandalf character. You're spending some of your very small combat proficiencies in being able to wield that longsword, but you can absolutely do it, and it works fantastic. Didn't one of your character? I'm trying to think whether it was one of yours or someone else in a playtest designed a wizard with a weapon.
I'm actually playing a wizard with a weapon in Jack's game, Trouble of Threes. Thank you very much. Trouble comes in threes. I have a scimitar. I am trained. I'm an expert in the scimitar. And one of the reasons for that is because I've also got some of the spells that can be delivered by the sword. So this actually means that it transfers the damage of the sword into the, you can see a cat coming in as a shadow. So essentially, using the sword, I can actually cast a spell through the sword, and it basically transfers the damage into the element of which I am imbuing into that sword. So it not only increases the damage, but it also changes the damage type, which, dependent on what you fight in Until Destiny, is really important. So your different damage types actually make a difference dependent on what you're fighting.
Right, I do apologize. I got a cat. There we go.
Hello, don't worry about being late. You've only had to put up with me wittering anyway, so
yes.
you know.
And it's glad. I'm really happy to have you here.
Lovely to see you.
Yes. Talking of that damage type. So if you've got a flaming sword and you activate the flame on it, all the damage of the sword becomes fire. And this was done purely just to keep things as simple as possible. Where you have mixed damage types, you're then rolling 2 sets of damage, and damage is damage. And the only time you need to know what type of damage it is when you're looking at resistances. And armor typically protects against any attack that targets you, or it can protect. So it doesn't matter whether that's physical, fire. The only damage that you can't protect yourself against is psychic damage. Armor just cannot protect you against a psychic hit. Although you never know, there may be a special metal that, if the armor is made from, allows you to, protects you from psychic damage. In fact, I think that's a great idea. But
stop. You're not allowed to add things, change things, and wiggle things whilst we're
midway
he's not
through
allowed to
making
change
a change.
anything. You are not allowed to change anything. Dem's the rules.
Yeah, and talking of how the spellcasting works. So Vicky's wizard, there was a breath weapon used, and I believe it was what damage was it? It was it wasn't fire. I think it was cold damage or something.
Yes, sorry, I'm catted.
And you did an absorb element.
Yes.
And effectively that gives you resistance and then stores the energy of that element. And then you attacked with your scimitar. Unfortunately, it didn't connect. But if it had, you could have done a elemental strike of that energy type as well. And that would have unleashed a ton of damage back through the blade. So it's this. Oh, we've got a sinful. That's Ian. Well, welcome.
Stop welcome doxing to the chat. People.
Well, we have talked about Ian and his amazing
Character
character sheet.
sheets,
It's
yes.
fantastic. And I tell you what, everybody who has used it so far has loved it. It's made
Sorry,
running the
guys.
game on Roll20 so much better and a lot smoother. So thank you and welcome to the chat.
And yeah, I think that's one of the things I would say is that there is a lot of complexity in Untold Destiny, but a lot of it is hidden. So even though the complexity's there, it doesn't feel intrusive when you're playing. And that for me, I mean, Sinful will tell you, you'll see me at the table adding up on my fingers. But I find this system so much more fun because it's lots of dice. There is a bit of adding up, but there's nothing overly complex. And that's because Dean hides the maths. That's because using the multi D20 system, you don't have that sort of overarching complexity that you get in some other systems. So in reality, he's got a percentage system, but that's hidden. And we went through that last time.
Yeah.
But today, you wanted to run through some stuff around our average damage and to show sort of, because we mentioned it last week, didn't we? And we said this week that we would go through sort of what our damage looks like in comparison to with our different classes. So we've got archetypes of classes, and then underneath that we've got individual classes. So you've got your archetypes, and then you've got your classes. So we're showing this for the archetypes. So I'm going to start putting these on screen, Dean, so you can talk them through. All right. So
Yep.
I'm going to find the screen and press the buttons. Technical difficulties.
Stand
Just pressing
by.
buttons. So we're going to start off with our average damage. There we go.
Excellent. So average damage is split between casters, rogues, fighters going two-handed, fighters going one-handed. And as you can see, it's a fairly... Rogues were always designed to be the single target damage dealer. And that doesn't mean that they only deal that damage once per round. A rogue that's taken the right bonus features could potentially do a riposte and deal their vital strike. We call it a vital strike damage outside of their turn. Otherwise, it's limited to once per their turn. But when it comes to single target damage, rogues are by far the best. Two-handed fighters, a little bit behind, but they begin to sort of drop off. But what the two-handed fighter can do is in fact, anybody can do it, is with the abilities like Cleave, they can hit multiple targets, or Whirlwind, they can strike many targets. If anybody has seen our Sunday live stream, actual play, there's a fighter in there that has Whirlwind and loves nothing more than getting in right into the middle of all the enemies and swinging their sword around and striking all of them as hard as they possibly can. A fighter with one-handed...
No.
Pooh. Oh, hello, Melda. A fighter with a one-handed weapon has the advantage of having a shield potentially, or dual wielding with a second weapon and dealing slightly less damage, but typically around the same. So this gives you an idea of our kind of damage scaling. You're starting off between the kind of 12 up to just over 20 points of damage. This is average, so it can spike up, spike down. All your damage comes from dice. You don't have any fixed values. So your damage can swing quite wildly from being, and we've had this a few times. Yeah, it was the first attack by the Barrow Wight, and I described this incredible wave of darkness, this necrotic energy sweeping down the passageway, and then rolled a load of ones and a 2 on my d8s. And
This was really funny.
Pitiful damage. In fact, I used the threat token, didn't I?
You did use a threat token to reroll. But we thought it was funny until you rerolled and it really hurt.
Yeah. So the average damage, there'll be ways to burst it up slightly, and all of those ways cost stamina. So as you can see already, the stamina mechanic really is the glue that brings all this together. And do you save some for defense? Do you save some for attack? Where do you spend your stamina? And again, if you've seen less actual plays that we do, you will see often characters refusing to do things like riposte because they know they're about to get attacked back and they want to be able to parry or dodge. And so they keep some stamina back for that. So there we go. That's the average damage. You can see it's not too bad actually, probably triples over the levels. It's important to note that is the big differentiator between toughness of one level to the next. It's how much damage you can deal, how much damage you can take. Your skills pretty much remain whatever they are, up to the 4 dice for a mastered skill with focus, and those numbers never change. So if you're an expert with the sword at first level, and then you receive some training, it'll go up slightly, but then it kind of hits a cap and doesn't go any further. So you've
So you
got
said
this.
hits a cat then.
No, hits a cap. No, oh, I don't want to hit a cat. So when it comes to differentiating difficulty, it's stuff like this. This damage is the big thing. So it shows at high levels, you're going to be wading through low level creatures. But at low levels, a higher level creature can knock loads of hit points off you, and especially on a lucky roll, and can put you on the back hoof.
So
Okay.
does this mean it's time for you to actually talk a little bit about maximum hit points and what you can
Yes.
expect?
Yes, let's have a look at our hit points.
Here we go.
So this is maximum hit points. This assumes a constitution of 20. Bearing in mind, a human can never have a constitution of 20. They are maxed at 18s. And only a few races, I think dwarf and Mathor, can have a constitution of 20. So this is your theoretical maximum. And what I've done, I've taken a D&D 12 hit dice, so a barbarian with a 20 constitution as a kind of guide to see how the hit points compare with each other. Bearing in mind, within something like 5e, you've got a feat that I think adds 50 hit points, so you can bolster that. I've had a barbarian with, close to 400 hit points at 20th level, using various means to bolster their hit points. But you can see everybody starts more or less around the same. There'll be a few points difference, and the reason being, the majority of your hit points at first level come from your constitution. But your constitution doesn't add any more as you go up levels. It is only your hit dice that takes you up each level. So it would be a D12 or an average of 7, D10, average of 6, D8, average of 5 per level. And that gives you this lovely graph, goes up, start with a good number of hit points, end up with quite a nice number, but not stupidly. More importantly, the fighter classes, D12s, end up at the top typically. Then it's your priests, and then it's your rogues and wizards at the bottom. But they are close together. They're clustered. It's not like the fighters end up with 2 to 3 times the hit points of the weakest party member. So from in addition to having lots of tools, so a fighter will probably have armor to mitigate a lot of damage. Everybody's roughly, within, I'm trying to think, they're within probably 50 hit points of each other at the end levels. I know when we ran the last 5e campaign, it was, I think, the barbarian had 400, and
I was on
the
something like
lowest
175 as a
was
wizard.
175, and that's a huge range. You can't challenge one character without obliterating the other, and it caused quite a few problems for me, to the point where I stopped kind of dealing damage in encounters that were at very, very high level, and it was special effects and stuff like that which were used instead. Because when you got someone with 400 hit points, the amount of damage you have to deal to make that player feel threatened is ridiculous, and it can spoil every other player's day at the table, because they'll look at the damage and go, "Oh my god, how can we even stand here?" And the one player who's got 400 hit points is just sat there going, "Yeah, well, I can tank this all day." So I didn't want to fall into that trap. So
I think the biggest difference between us and certain other systems is the fact that it's a more gradual
Mm,
increase and it's not overwhelming. So you actually feel, because you're a paragon at first level, you're experienced, you've got a background, you've been out in the world, you've got your heritage, you've got your family, you've got a structure around you, you have become someone already, and you're a paragon. So you start off quite robust. Still can die quite quickly if you don't look after yourself, but you're quite robust. And what I love about this curve, and when we did the high level play testing, is that you still were challenged. So it didn't matter which class you played, you were challenged. You had to still work together as a team. And what I found is it feels a lot more natural, and it also supports more of the gameplay similar to the books that I've read, where your characters have done lots of stuff, but they're now high level, but they still have challenges. And that's what I love about it. And this one here, where Dean's put the nice yellow line showing showing the way the sort of curve, it's a straight
mm.
line, but I'm going to call it a curve because I want to. For D&D, you can see how very little to very high. And I think that's one of the reasons that after sort of ninth level, D&D starts to sort of have problems, and after 12th level it's exceedingly problematic, especially if you've got people who've multi-classed at low levels. Sort of the single class at the higher levels tends to start getting a bit more powerful, but it never actually evens out, mainly because of this hit point curve line. I want to
Yes.
call it a curve. Why do I want to call it a curve? But I think that's really important. And it's a massive difference with Untold Destiny. And it looks simple, but really affects the playability. I'm going to go and find a different graph for you to witter on about, and for me to witter on about.
Mm.
Um,
I think the only other one we got is the average hit point graph. But we haven't, in our last half hour, talked about polymorph.
I will talk about that in a minute. We've done average damage, haven't we?
Yes, yes, that was the first one.
Yeah. No, that'll do. That'll do on the graph side.
Yes.
So you want to talk polymorph, do you?
Yes, can we touch on polymorph?
You can touch on polymorph.
This was something that I was going back and forth with, wondering whether to have it or not, because it veers on the side of very fantastical, and our magic system is a lot more grounded. There aren't such world-breaking spells like weird and I'm trying to think of some of the other ones, like absolutely, earthquake, for example. We don't have an earthquake spell that can generate this huge earthquake and decimate, entire villages and towns. So magic is more kind of controlled. It's powerful, but it's not over the top. Yes. Can we raise an
We
army of the
can raise
sickly?
armies of the sick. I like that one. Armies of the sickly. Yes.
Yes.
You have
If
a
you're
bit
a
of cough.
priest of oh jeez, I had the name just a minute ago. Ladwana. If you're a priest of Ladwana who deals with the sick and the
You
sickly, yes,
can't
you
forget your
probably
own
could.
gods' names.
I wasn't.
Look,
Right. So polymorph, or rather the ability to shape change. And I decided shape change is actually one of those things which is it's featured quite a bit in different fantasies, books and stuff like that. It's when you think of druids, shape changing into beast forms is part of that. Um, so I wanted to keep something around that, and also Sinful talked me into it. It was one of the things we went back and forth a bit, and he eventually
yes.
convinced me to it's a good thing to have. It's cool. A player loves to be able to shape change, especially when playing a druid. And again, on Sunday we got one of the players as a druid, and oh my god, they absolutely love it. They'll go into a bear form to quickly move across, or to try and constrain someone, or a wolf, or to provide pack tactics to their allies, stuff like that. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it does. It works really well. And we've got things like the Druid that actually utilizes it.
Mm,
And it's actually an enchantment for your wizard as well. But there are
yeah.
benefits of being a druid that when you're using your different shape changes, it's just immense. So I've played a druid and I loved it. And I don't normally play druids. I'm very much wizard, wizard, wizard. So
Mm.
it was new for me and it was brilliant.
Yeah. So polymorph as a spell is a high level spell, 5th level. And you can take on the form of a beast that is no larger than medium. And you got a higher level version of the spell that allows you to become a medium sized beast. You will note, however, that your body undergoes massive shock and you need to make a system shock saving throw or you're stunned. Stunned means you can still do stuff, but you got massive penalties, a greater bane to everything you do. At the start of each round, whilst you're still stunned, you may make another system shock saving throw to remove that condition. So polymorph, you need to have a good constitution to be able to utilize those forms. There is one exception. If you're a druid, you're using your shape change ability, you do not need to do that. You are naturally adept at changing shape and taking on the form of an animal. So when you are polymorphing, does that mean you've got this whole nightmare of what do I get? What transfers across? Hang on, what are my hit points whilst I'm polymorphed? How does it all work? Do you want to move to the polymorph creature, please? It was next to the summoned one, so you might want to.
I
So it's a
know, I
big
know.
scroll. There we go.
It's a big scroll, hence why I'm removing myself from the.
Yes, and whilst Vicky's doing that, it would help us tremendously if you could and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and leave us a comment if you want to as well. It all helps us with the algorithm. We're fighting against bigger channels here to be noticed, and we could do with
Only
any bit of
teeny
help
tiny.
we can get. We are teeny tiny. So we got the bear form here, and you'll note with the bear form there are 2 attributes, strength and dex. So of course, the way the system is, everything is just a dice added to an attribute when you're using skills and stuff. So instantly, you're no longer adding your strength bonus. You're adding this +8. You're no longer using your dexterity. You're using that +4. So that translates across perfectly. Your skills still apply, but the bonuses may change. Your constitution is still your constitution. Your hit points are still your hit points. The damage you take is still your damage. So we don't have anything messy with your form giving you extra hit points or giving you temporary hit points that when removed removes the form and stuff like this. You remain in your form typically, especially with a focus spell. So focus is this mechanic for if a spell has a duration, it's focus. So long as you focus on the spell, it keeps running. You can only have a number of focus spells equal to half your casting modifier. So for the example we gave above, which was the 18, 4 spells could be focused on. There's ways, of course, boosting this. A druid who shape change doesn't need to focus on the shape change. So they will remain in their beast form until they revert back by choice or they die. And then they naturally revert back. So this is incredibly powerful. You can take on this new form. You gain its strength. You gain its dexterity. You may gain an additional raw strength. So larger creatures roll 2d20 for their raw strength. They're that much stronger, adding their strength bonus. You gain the armor of the creature, and if it can dodge and parry, you gain those abilities as well. And you will note there, again, you got this brackets dodge, brackets unarmed. It uses your dodge skill. It uses your unarmed skill, but obviously the creature's dexterity, the creature's strength. It's 4-legged, so you gain a boon on resisting prones. You got this bear hug attack, +8 with your unarmed dice. So if you're mastered in unarmed, you're rolling 3 dice and adding 8 against one
And the
target. If you
3 dice, 3d20, don't forget,
3d20,
3d20.
3d20, pick the highest, add 8. So all of this naturally flows. It's not that difficult to quickly adapt the polyform to your character sheet and to use it. And all the abilities clearly defined. So the bear is all about grabbing people, hugging them, and then biting them or crushing them. It's fantastic. And you got some
It's
swift
good
actions
fun.
there. Yeah, it is really good fun. And we have polymorph forms for pretty much all the standard beasts and some of the larger beasts. So you can polymorph into a warg, or into an Ursul, which is a large bear, or into a Shadow Stalker, gaining access to like climbing abilities and the Shadow Stalker's camouflage. So yeah.
That we do.
Yes.
It's all very good fun, and it just adds that sort of nuance that I think is missing in so many games, and it works really well. It works well with your other players as well, so it doesn't feel as if it sort of overwhelms any of the other characters. It fits in really nicely. So you know, that sort of polymorph works superbly.
It does. And yeah, you can now play a druid who every round, so long as you've got the spell point to polymorph or shape change, can change their shape according to their needs. And it's the druid I've always dreamed of playing, and it's fantastic. Druids are actually very, very unique in their approach. And very capable when it comes to wielding elemental powers and the forms of the beasts around them.
Right, I'd say that's one of the core design principles you've gone for, which is it's always the stuff we've wanted to do. We've never been able to do in any of the systems, but making sure that it all works well together and and actually flows nicely. So you haven't just got what I would call the killer classes. They all work really well together, and because we promote team play, so basically supporting one another with your aid allies, your spellcasters can actually annoy the enemy, basically helping their fighters to hit harder, which is just fantastic. So you can actually interrupt and you can sort of distract your enemy. That's brilliant. That's something that you can do as a reaction. And then of course your spellcasters can do one thing which I absolutely love. As long as they put their skill points into it, they can get out of the way when somebody tries to hit them in the face.
What you
And
mean, investing in the dodge skill?
investing in the dodge skill. So you could even, if you've got a sword, you could even learn to parry and stuff like that, which to me, it just means I don't see why, as a mage, I would just stand there as something's bearing down upon me and having something, you know, and just not try and get out the way. It just doesn't make sense to me. And the fact is, with Untold Destiny, with the reaction system, I can move. I can do stuff to protect myself. And I love that because it does replicate the books I used to read. And, you know, it makes me feel like a hero. And that's one of the reasons as a player, I like playing Untold Destiny.
Yeah. So of course you've got a set damage here, and you'll know from the graph we had before that damage goes up as you level from various sources, and that damage is static. So when you go up the levels, how does that work? Well, you got a keyword there called enhanced, and enhanced means you're part of the fighter's track for damage. So at 7th level, you add another dice of your weapon damage, and at 13th level, you add another dice. Okay, that all sounds very straightforward, but as a caster, if I've got my lovely mithril wand and I create a summons, the mithril wand gives that summon creature an additional d8 damage. So you've got other ways of being able to bolster the damage. And if I'm a druid and I've got a holy symbol that's made of, say, ironwood, I would have a d8 when I'm in my polymorph form. So there's ways, and you get these items, you can get better ones as you go up the levels. So there's lots of these little ways of your damage kind of creeping up and allowing you to keep up with the threats you're going up against.
And I would say that pretty much covers off the majority of. Now, we said right at the beginning we don't have counterspell. We also went through why we don't have counterspell and also how we actually address that within Untold Destiny. And that's one of the things I wanted to just close on tonight, which is spellcasting in Untold Destiny is powerful, but it doesn't absolutely overwhelm the martial characters. So even though you've got, say, 6, maybe 8 spell points, you don't overwhelm the marshals. You actually work really well with the marshals. So it's an important part of a party, but you don't have to have a spellcaster in the party. You're mad if you don't, but that's just me. You don't have to have a spellcaster in a party for that party to work well. And that fits in with our ethos through all of this, which is there are no, you've got to have this class in order to play Untold Destiny. You don't have to have clerics. You don't even have to have wizards. You can go complete martial setup if you want. You could even just go for a whole party of wizards. I want to do that. Any volunteers? I would happily. Oh, look at Dean. He's like, this
No,
is
no, the
wingdings all over
Abjurer
again.
would be in their element. No,
I
you
would.
think about it.
I
The
would.
dynamic. I think it would work, but the
It
dynamic
would
would be
work really
very
well.
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be interesting. You could actually do a party of wizards. Yeah.
Oh, we have a question. I'm going to pop this on here and I will read it out. How does Untold Destiny handle various party sizes? Is there a recommended number? Have you run larger groups in playtesting?
Yes. What we have is the recommended number is between 4 and 5. And it's like any role play game, the more players you get around the table, the slower it becomes, with a couple of exceptions. Certain, if you're playing very OSR based games where it's less complexity, but death can happen on a dice roll, that kind of stuff. So things resolve very quickly. You can end up with a lot more players. So I know some AD&D games that I used to attend where there'd be 8 to 12 players around the table. It would still be slow, but it would work better. If you're talking something like 5th edition, where there's a bit more maths and complexity in what you do, and Untold Destiny kind of falls into that level of crunch, the more players you get, the slower the game will become. The less time people get to role play. Combats will get a little bit slower because of all the interactions, but there's nothing stopping you from having a lot of players round the table. My personal preference has always been between 4 and 5, because I think everybody gets a chance to do role playing, everybody gets a chance to be in the limelight, and your combats encounters flow a lot smoother. Everybody just gets to have a bit of that fun pie, as it were, with having a decent slice of that fun pie, right, rather than sharing it amongst.
You deserve
So
this.
yes.
It absolutely deserve this. Thank you, Sinful.
Mm.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have. So I think, what was it, when we were at the Gamers Emporium in Swansea? I think we had up to 8 at one stage. So we have.
No, it was
We
6.
have.
It was 6.
Was it 6?
And that went well. That was okay. Yeah.
Sure, I'm sure it was more, but
No, we only
that
had
went.
six pre-gens available, so it was definitely 6. It was a
Oh, it was
fully
definitely
booked
6 then.
six players. Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
It was 2 years. Yeah.
2 years ago that was, yeah. So yeah, we've played up to 6. You can, I think, because of the interaction system, um the more players you've got, the more chance you've got of multiple people wanting to do the same reaction. So you've got that potential clash. I would recommend probably not going more than 6. I would say absolute maximum 8, but it would still work with more. You just have to agree how you approach the reactions, and in order not to have someone always doing the reactions and
Well,
other
they'll
people
always
not
do it
getting a
until
chance.
they'll always do it until they run out of stamina.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's only a few reactions which are limited, and they're normally the punishing reactions. So we got some reactions which allow you to punish an enemy that successfully dodges or parries, and that's limited to only one person can use that reaction trigger to prevent the whole party just taking punishing shot or punishing blow. And that works well. I think we on Sunday's game we got a few people with punishing bonus
Yes, we
features.
have.
And that's great because you'll have a party member who, attempts to strike an enemy. The enemy dodges out the way. And next thing you know, you got this arrow flying in from the back because their dodge has brought them straight into the line of fire of the ranger at the back who's got punishing shot. And they're going, oh, you're going to dodge my friend? Well, you've left yourself open to me. Bang, half damage done.
Yeah. So that works really well. So yeah, you can play with as few or as many as you want, but of course there's always that
Yeah.
flow of the game that you have to take into consideration,
Yeah,
and also
I think
noise.
yeah, the best way to view it is if you were running a 5e game, how many players would you have? Because it's roughly that sort of same level of interaction. And it depends what you're comfortable with
No,
around the table.
no, I disagree with that statement. I really do,
I'm using a
because
very broad. I know we have far more in the
yeah,
way of
you've
reactions and
got,
stuff, but then we got far less in the way of maths.
admittedly, but even still, I've played 5e and I've played Until Destiny, and I wouldn't, the whole way it interacts is very, very different. And therefore, I think the vibe at the table is very different. And I think you get people paying a lot more attention
Oh, you
and wanting
definitely
to
do.
do more things. So because of that, I think that you would want to keep it to a reasonable volume so that everybody gets to really make the most of their bonus features. So
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't go more than 6,
The
but
yeah.
it could if you were in that position where you had to.
Yeah, the big danger you will have at having lots of players is players getting not bored, but their minds beginning to wander, and they miss the opportunities that present themselves in the combat, and then they're kicking
It's more
themselves
noise.
afterwards. Yeah,
Noise
it's
around the
the
table.
noise.
You can guarantee people will start talking over each other.
Yeah,
So that would be why I would say try and keep it to 6. I wouldn't go more than
yeah.
that,
I
really.
I, I did a 6 as one shot, 4 hour one shot, and I wouldn't go higher than 6. That was my limit, and purely on the noise front.
Does the setting have any interesting forms of transport? This leading to oddball fun combat. Anything techie left over from before times, or odd balloon ships, etc.?
Oh, that's very interesting. The one thing we have got is parapacks. So these are backpacks with a parachute in them. And it's because falling damage is incredibly lethal. And there are creatures that will swoop, grab you, and fling you up into the air, dropping you from like 100, 200 feet. And in that instance, your character's dead. So in a world, I thought, in a world where these creatures existed, what would be the defense mechanism? And the defense mechanism, based on the fact that these existed before the Ashfall, and that kind of concept carried on through, is to build parachutes into backpacks. So these backpacks are bulkier. They don't carry as much. They got a point of encumbrance. You can't put kits on them to make them easily accessible. But when that wyvern sweeps down, grabs you, and flings you into the air, as a reaction, it's a point of stamina, you can hit the cord and the parachute deploys, bringing you safely down to the ground. Otherwise, when it comes to
Roxon,
hmm?
our Heroxon, the ones that pulling our
Yeah,
giant caravans.
absolutely. But we talked about anything. Yeah, the Heroxon for the caravans. So the caravans, huge armored caravans with a ballista on them to protect them as they go through from one location to another in the wilds. Um, your skills, I've in many of the combats we've had, especially where there's been trees and stuff like that, the skills, acrobatics, athletic stuff, they've all been used to gain advantages, to gain height, to jump down on opponents. So there's a lot of movement within combat, but you're relying now on your character's skills rather than tricks like phase step or stuff like that to do the same.
Yeah, so technology left over. The one of the challenges that we've got is that the ashfall actually prevents technology from working. So even though there are some artifacts that are infused with aether, there's not what you could call, a sort of airship and stuff like that, because the elements themselves refuse to be tamed. So when you think about Untold Destiny as a setting, it has got some restrictions. However, we've started off with the Harbour Protectorate, which is one of the areas that civilization has started to be rebuilt. Now we've got a massive world we've created, and the Harbour Protectorate is a part of that world. So there will be different things in different areas as we start expanding out from the Harbour Protectorate. But we had to eat this giant world one little piece at a time. So at the moment, we've not got many sort of wild and wacky things. Whether or not we do as the world develops, we'll wait and see. But I do love that question.
Hmm.
Now I've got another lovely question here, Dean. You're going to like this one.
I am.
All right. What are the key differences between Untold Destiny and other fantasy systems, so D&D, etc.?
That's a big question, but I would say what at the very top, it's the not having any daily use abilities. I'm excluding fate points from this, but all of your abilities are reusable based on typically stamina or spell points. Because I didn't see the sense in I'm this fighter, I'm a great tactician, but I can only do it 4 times, and then I need to spend an hour resting. And I just didn't like that. If I'm a martial character, surely I can continue doing something until I'm exhausted, and then I can rest and continue doing that again. So I'd say that's one of the biggest differences, is the fact that you've got these combat resources that always refresh. Your hit points come back, your stamina comes back, your spell points come back. So what you can do is not limited in that day. And this then creates a very natural adventuring day where your players are focused purely on what's happening around them and achieving their objectives or exploring the ruins or doing something. They're not midway through suddenly going, oh no, guys, we need to pull out and have a rest, because unless they get severely wounded, they're getting all of their energy and their resources back. So I'd say that's the biggest point of difference between us and other systems, as is the reaction systems used in combat.
Yeah, I was about to say the reaction system. The fact is, you're not just waiting for your turn. As a player, I found that has been the biggest difference to me. It means I can do things outside of my turn. It means I can help my comrades or my allies. I can actually make a difference to the battlefield when it's not my turn. I can help my friends be more effective. I can help them pass a really nasty save when they would have failed. I can help nudge that bad guy right under that blade.
Yeah.
And I can move out the way if something tries to hit me. Those sort of reactions make such a difference in Untold Destiny. One of the big differences is people don't sit there on their phones in between turns, because they have to pay attention, because there's things that they could potentially do that would swing the tide of battle. And I think the other big thing is death. Death in
Oh yeah.
Untold Destiny is permanent. You hand your character sheet over to the GM, going, "It's so tired," and it doesn't come back. So that is another massive difference. We haven't got any mass healing spells, so you can't go from 0 right the way up to full. So none of that exists. You've got trickle healing. You can actually heal yourself. So every character has the ability to basically apply first aid. They also have the ability to sort of take a breath in combat, and I can't remember the name of it.
It's the
It's gone.
recovery action.
Recovery
So
action.
if you've got a healing skill and a healing kit, you can do first aid. Everybody
Yeah.
can take the recovery action
Recovery
and recover
action.
some hit points. It's not a huge amount, but sometimes it can make all the
Oh, it
difference,
makes a
especially
massive
when you got
difference.
the party helping you. Yeah.
So that makes a big difference, and that lack of spells. And the other thing is when you get to 0 hit points, you don't just fall over. There's none of this falling over, unconscious, suddenly you're back up to full hit points again, and then you're back on the floor.
Oh, the
That
yo-yo.
doesn't
Oh,
happen.
no.
The yo-yo does not happen. I think that's a massive difference between us and other systems,
Yeah, I've
which means
used
it feels more natural.
Absolutely. I've used Boromir as a good example here, which is Boromir's protecting the halflings. He's brought down to 0 hit points because he's got these orcs, and then an arrow slams into him. He's failed his system shock. He's now taken a wound, and that's that arrow, but he's still up. He's still able to kill a couple more orcs, and he takes another arrow, another arrow. The wounds keep stacking up until the 5th wound is taken, and he falls. And what we're going to have is last words, which is you're dead. Your character's dead, But if it's
Squeaking.
appropriate to the scene,
Squeaking.
yes, if it's appropriate to the scene, the ability to have their last words before they truly expire, and that fits. You will notice a theme here. I take what I love from fantasy literature, from fantasy films, and I think, how can that scene play out within our game? What mechanics will support it? How can we make sure that a group round a table can have a moment like that, where everybody's just so in the zone and so looking, it's you got this player whose character has died. That's it. There's no coming back. Their character sheet's going to be handed over or ripped up, but they get that last
Not
moment to
ripped
say
up.
some
No, no,
heroic.
no, no, no. Book of the Dead, we do not rip up character sheets.
I can't speak for other tables. Whatever you do at your table is up to you. If you rip up character sheets, have a shredder nearby. Just
Oh no, no, don't do that. Don't.
yes.
So I think what Cam has said here,
Yes.
don't let Cam get my stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we that's one of the big things I think with Untold Destiny is the maths have been pushed down below the surface, but dice are at the forefront. Dean did go through this whole thing where he's going, oh, maybe I need to reduce the number of math rocks, and we're like, no.
It was purely on the damage side. I had this opportunity to rationalize down the damage numbers, to bring them all just a bit, but then it would mean you'd be rolling like one dice at first level, going up from there. And all
Shiny
the
math
players around the
rocks.
table, after the level 20 test, where they were rolling like 8 to 13 dice per every single player went, no, you are not taking our dice away from us. We like rolling this many damage dice. It doesn't take too long to count, and it's fantastic. Just seeing all those numbers and looking for those big numbers, and it's that feeling around the table. I want my players to feel engaged and to feel, a real part of the game.
And oh, I've got to show the don't let Cam get my stuff, because I can imagine that. I can really imagine that. So yes, you can actually have a funeral for, so we've done it in the past when characters have passed. We've had funerals, and we and as we will be going through in next week, which is all about gods. So next week we decided we couldn't cram gods in because it's such a big topic. So we're going to be talking about gods and our clerics and how that all works next week. So that's a beautiful segue, because yes, we can have funerals and wakes for the dead, and it all depends on what gods they follow. Some of them may follow the nature gods, and they will have all of their rites. Then others will follow the more holy, organized religions, and they will have their rites. And we can talk about that in a bit more detail when we go through the gods. But yes, definitely. I always find it quite sad when we've lost a character. I have to try. If it's not my character, I still struggle not to cry. And if it is my character, I always cry. So it'll happen. I just accept it now. Ooh. Oh, I put it up.
Bring it back.
It's a chair to keyboard interface issue there, Dean. What are some of the more darker elements of the Untold Destiny setting?
That's a difficult one, because I think that's
Everything's
it's very subjective to the table. But I ran what I consider to be quite a disturbing campaign for part of our playtest, which was Business Unusual. And it's centered around eldritch beings. So we don't have aberrants, we have eldritch beings, borrowing quite a bit from Lovecraftian lore and stuff like that, but reimagining it more into a fantasy setting. So some of the creatures I was describing and some of the scenes were actually quite dark. You had a scene where they went down into the cellar. These cultists were trying to complete a summoning circle. They managed to deal with the cultists. But then they carried with them this book. So it's all centered around this book and the strange symbol on this book. And the symbol being an entity of sundering and discord and separation. And I think Vicky, it was you who had Detect Aether up? Yeah.
Yes.
So you
Thank
saw
you.
the dark, shadowy tendrils come out of the book and touch upon several of the corpses. And the corpses suddenly exploded, blood flying everywhere out of them. And they were raised into the sky and then slammed onto the ground. And they were just these sort of blooded, bloated messes that would then be striking the party and knocking them off their feet and absolutely wailing into them. So we do have some very dark creatures. And again, it comes down to the table. It comes down to how you want to play it. You can keep it very light-hearted and very high fantasy, or you can go down into the more horror-based setting and use more stuff like that. So I hope that answered the question.
I think it does, but I also think we've got certain things such as our Forest of Lucid Dreams.
Oh, yes.
So the Forest of Lucid Dreams is exceedingly dangerous. If you go in there, there is sort of various different things, and you can be walking through and you can inhale certain things that will make you
Psychotropic.
you've got lots of
Yeah.
funguses, and then you've got plants that basically will lure you in with their sweet smells. So you've got, within Untold Destiny, we've got a large variation, and in fact we've got an awful lot that's going into our Adversaries and Allies books, and a lot of these creatures, we've got some very, very nasty creatures. We have got creatures of the sea, we've got creatures from all over the place, but as we said, Adversaries and Allies, we've got cults. We have those that, even though we've got the good religions and we've got all of, even though we don't strictly have alignments, we've got heroes, so the religions tend to be seen as being on the good and the holy side. We've also got the evil cults, the ones who are trying to bring things from the past, from the aether, through into the world. And these are your sort of adversaries. We've got, for example, we spoke about the druids earlier. You've got some of the druids believe that civilization is a scourge on society and needs to fall, that trying to claim back this world is evil and wrong, and they believe what they're doing is right. So again, you've got those sort of different sort of elements that permeate the whole of Untold Destiny. Like everything, even like real life, it's a complex system, as in you've got good, you've got bad. We don't have alignments as such, but the whole sort of evil versus good sort of permeates the whole game.
That's a
You are
cornerstone of
heroes.
fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah, you are heroes, right? That's why we're going to have an evil book, which is so you want to play the bad guy. So if you want to play that sort of campaign, that you can play a campaign where you're evil, but the cornerstone of Untold Destiny is you're a paragon. You have lived your life so many times. Your spirit is now so entwined with the aether that you can achieve great things.
Yeah,
And you
you're
want to
beginning to
do that.
gain sentience as an your spirit's gaining sentience, that it has been on this circle of life and is ready to ascend and become better than itself. And the whole mechanics around this support that kind of role play, which is our legend system. So when you do heroic deeds, when you help people and deal with threats far above your level, you build legend. This is people talking about what magnificent people you are, and that legend grows and grows, and you gain benefits from the legend. So of course, so you want to be the villain.
Do you believe we have a playtester?
Yes, we do. That fight was terrifying. It was, and it's that was an earlier version. So a couple of things had changed since that fight, and these creatures have become even nastier. And don't forget the Leshy. I mean, that,
Gosh.
the old man of the forest, or there were three of them, I believe, and
Yes.
they were nasty.
Yes. They almost killed me. Thank you very much. I remember that one. But one of the things I would say is that with our adversaries and allies is that we have real enemies. The world is dangerous. The world isn't a walk in the park. It's not fairy dust and pixies. It is dangerous. There are creatures out there, they will kill you and then just carry on walking. and they won't even notice. So
Yeah.
you have to be careful. There is rhyme and reason to everything that we have in Untold Destiny. So there is nothing that exists within the Untold Destiny world that hasn't been thought through, that hasn't got an actual place. There you go. I think that's fair enough. But yes, we've got some very nasty things and
Yeah.
it can get a bit dark at times.
It can
But
do.
again, you can make it lighter if you want to. But we do tend to play on the darker side sometimes because you're mean.
I don't know. This latest campaign you're doing seems very bright, and you got these lovely lizards all covered in these beautiful, sparkly crystals.
Yeah, that probably trying to kill
Yes,
us. So I like Cyrus writes, we need a web page for the fallen characters from Untold Destiny.
we
And
do.
I do actually think that would be a lovely idea. And I know someone who would like that very much. I think Xander needs to go on that web page. So
I think
I'm
so.
going to take that as homework.
Yeah. Good suggestion there. Very good suggestion. Right. I think everything's become a bit quiet now, which is great. So thank you so much for being with us whilst we went through spells. And I really do
Spells and
appreciate
spellcasting.
all the support we get
I
in
do.
this. Yeah.
It's been absolutely lovely to see you all in the chat. And we Tina and I were like, yes, we will keep it quite short today. But no, I witter. I can't help
There's
it.
I've just noticed one last thing we didn't talk about just before we go.
Oh, I will let you answer that. I missed that one. Did I
Yes,
fail on my
you did, but that's why there's two
Oh,
of us. Any interesting black market trades, etc. Yes, there is an undercurrent of thievery and crime that runs through. As all things, you've got corruption, you've got crime, you've got all of that running through. Some of the background choices you can have when you create a character. In fact, one of our pre-gen characters, it comes from a crime family. And it's all built in. They're currently on the run or trying to hide from the crime family, which is why they've gone all across the ocean to this island. Um, but yeah, when you're generating your character, you can actually come from a criminal organizations. You can be on the run from them. You can be a converted a criminal. You can be a street urchin that's survived on the streets. So the world of Untold Destiny, Kaseya, is not this bright, colorful, everything's great. It is based on a real world. You got people who are striving to do good, and you got people who want nothing more than power, and then people trying to survive in between. So, in fact, on Sunday's game, they are going up to help an elvish village who keeps being raided by slavers from a nearby nation. And that kind of sets the tone of the thing. It's that if ever you've gone played any of the old first edition or second edition modules, it's that kind of a tone, that kind of a medieval world. So yes, I hope that answers your question there.
I like the fact that Sci-Fi Snob has reminded us to say, everyone, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe already. And I think that we are going to close out with this magnificent idea. We need Michael's I can't say that word, you have to find
Malevolent
words I can't say.
merchandise.
Malevolent merchandise. I think
to
that'd
to
be a
be fair,
jolly
that's
good
a bit like
idea.
the Volos. Volos. What was it? Volos Book of Sundries or something. Oh, you love that book. The book with all the equipment in.
Aurora's. That was
That
Aurora's.
was Aurora's, was it? Ah, Aurora's
I
Catalogue
think
of
it
the
was
Realms.
Aurora's
Yes.
catalogue. Yeah, I loved that. Oh, I still
Yeah.
love that. It's
Yeah. Well,
beautiful.
we have poisons and stuff like that already baked into the game. So I think it's only natural we could do a small little supplement that goes into more the thieving kind of darker tools for the trade. Yeah. Don't be like Ham. Hit the like. Anyway, thanks so much. We could continue spending all our time wittering here. I really love the support we've been getting. Thank you so much. Next
It
week, we're
means
going to
the
be
world
talking.
to us. I
It does.
cannot tell you how much it means to us. This has been a passion of ours now for many years. And for it to, it's almost there. It's within touching distance. And you guys give us that sort of that whoosh of being able to continue when things feel hard. The fact you guys have been so supportive really help us to just keep going. even around work, around everything else that happens. So thank you all. You really do make this worthwhile. And at the end of the day, we want to see you all playing. That's what we want.
Yeah.
There we go. I just want to highlight one last thing. As I said, you're not taking our dice offers.
No,
More
I'm not.
dice is more fun.
Absolutely.
So
Right.
thank you all, and see you next week where we're talking gods of Untold Destiny. We will be going through our different gods. We'll be talking about our spheres, and we'll be talking a little bit about our clerics and what they're like to play. So don't miss out. Come and see us. It's 5 p.m. EST, 10 p.m. UK time, and hopefully I'll see you all in the chat.
Okay. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Now I have to press the button, don't I?
Yes. The one saying thank you for watching.